Part 15. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 141. At home, Ma Xiaozu and her son and daughter live happily together, but Chen Yi is out of tune. In school, her classmates targeted her, which made her more withdrawn and introverted. Under all kinds of bullying and harassment, Chen Yi's grades plummeted, and her classmates often reported her to the teacher, saying that she was hanging out with a few bad students in the school. It's not like Chen Yi has never reported those bad students to the school, but in the end nothing happened. Those people are either tyrannical at home, or they are dead pigs who are not afraid of boiling water. The school's punishment of them never works. Over time, the school only wants to send these plague gods away without asking them to change, but it harms Chen Yi. Such students. It's not like she hasn't explained to her teachers the reasons for her declining grades and Zhou Qingqing's suppression of her, but no one believed her. Because compared to her, Zhou Qingqing is a more convincing good student and class leader. His grades are among the best, he has excellent moral character and academic performance, and he has a good relationship with his classmates. There was no one around Chen Yi who could help her. And the only grandma who truly loves her and trusts her unconditionally is not in good health. Therefore, Chen Yi accepted his fate after trying it several times. She knew that she was too weak to fight against these evil forces. She could only endure it and wait for herself to grow up quickly and get rid of these villains as soon as possible. But Chen Yi's patience could not make the villains give in. Instead, they insulted her more and more. Over time, the teacher's impression of her became worse and worse. After Chen Yi was late and absent from the exam, the teacher called Ma Xiaozu. Ma Xiaozu held the blank test paper and cried with rain after Chen Jian came back, saying that it was not easy to be a stepmother and it was because she did not take care of her well that she raised a crooked daughter. But with the conscience of heaven and earth, she has tried her best. She made a fuss about Chen Yi's performance in school. Chen Jian went to the school to verify the situation in person, and then asked teachers, classmates, and Zhou Qingqing. Finally, he felt that the fault was on his daughter and scolded her severely when he came back. He felt that the eldest daughter was not self-disciplined, not motivated, and did not want to make progress. Chen Jian told Ma Xiaozu not to have too many worries in the future, just scold and punish Chen Yi when necessary, and help him educate his children. He looked at Zhou Qingqing, who was sensible and capable. After finishing her homework and washing the dishes, she was still sharpening pencils for her younger brother. He really felt that Chen Yi was far behind because he was used to it. Since then, Chen Yi's situation has become even more difficult. She was excluded at home and in school, and relatives always liked to compare her with Zhou Qingqing when they came to visit her. She is fat, does not study well, does not have the love of her biological father and mother, and has a bad personality. Naturally, she is not as good as Zhou Qingqing in every aspect. No one believed her, and she was miserable and had nowhere to complain. Chen Yi became more and more introverted and withdrawn. She didn't want to see people, and she always had a cold face no matter who tried to persuade her. Ma Xiaozu, on the other hand, used to cry in front of all her relatives, saying that she could not teach her children well. Soon, relatives also began to dislike Chen Yi, who was unpopular and unsatisfactory. Chen Jian could only sigh when he heard it occasionally. But one time, when Chen Yi was out of school, she saw Zhou Qingqing talking to the gangsters from the school at the entrance of the alley. She had a keen eye and followed her, only to find out that the reason why the gangsters bullied her regardless of the weather was because Zhou Qingqing gave them money. Chen Yi was very angry. On impulse, she went to her father to sue Zhou Qingqing. This was the only time she said anything bad about the mother and daughter in front of Chen Jian. As a result, she received a slap from Chen Jian. Chen Jian didn't believe it. Not only did Chen Jian not believe it, he also begged her to let her focus on her studies, cause less trouble, make less trouble, and fight less against her kind-hearted stepmother and introverted stepsister, so that she could be worthy of her dead mother and grandmother who loved her. From then on, Chen Yi became cold-hearted towards this father. She had only one idea: endure it. As long as she endures it until she is 16 after graduating from junior high school, she can find a job. Once she has a stable income, she will be fully capable of civil conduct. She can leave home, she can get rid of these people, she can take her grandma out of the nursing home, she can take care of her grandma herself. But even with such a humble little wish, she failed to achieve it. Zhou Qingqing became angry because of her complaint. The gangsters at school became even more aggressive towards her, taking many ugly photos of bullying her and spreading them. Almost everyone in the entire school saw those photos, and even the principal notified her to talk. Chen Yi almost collapsed. What really pushed her off the cliff was that Zhou Qingqing accidentally exposed a photo of her and her male classmate hugging each other in front of her grandma, and said some untrue words, which caused her grandma to have a heart attack. Grandma said it was gone. When Chen Yi arrived, she was slapped to the ground by her father. "Beast! Are you worthy of your grandma who raised you up? It was you who killed your grandma. You have no face to see her. Get out of here." Chen Yi collapsed completely. "I live just to take care of grandma. Now that the only old lady who loved her was gone, what was she living for?" Chen Yi's life goal suddenly disappeared. She was disgusted by the indifferent environment and reality, and she was filled with guilt, which made her lose the motivation to live. She took out the dagger from her bag and bumped into it. Instead of continuing to struggle in the cold world, she might as well go to accompany her grandma. She is unable to take care of her grandma when she is alive, so let her accompany her grandma in another way. But when she was dying, she saw her stepmother and stepsister crying with joy. They actually said, "It takes no effort at all. This old lady is indeed her weak point." With just a few tricks, these two eyesores were killed. It's God's will to kill two of them at once. Being stupid enough to commit suicide really saves our hands and feet. From now on, everything in the Chen family belongs to us, and we don't have to share it with outsiders. It's great. Our family is neat and tidy, and we can live a good life. Great. From now on, I will be the only eldest lady in this family. From now on, my brother and I can divide the family property equally and inherit my father's company. Only then did Chen Yi realize that her death had no meaning other than escaping. Instead, it fulfilled her enemy's wishes to the greatest extent and gave everything she had to her enemy. No one would feel sorry for her or feel pain for her, and grandma's death was unclear. She was unwilling to do so. So Chen Yi's wish is, 1. Live well and not be easily knocked down. 2. Lose weight, learn, regain your confidence, and regain your life. 3. Try to get the person who bullied her punished as much as possible. 4. And the most important thing, protect grandma well, fulfill your previous wish, take good care of grandma, and lead a good life with grandma. Tao Ran couldn't help but sigh. Unlike Yaqin and Yang Yu, whose tragedy was largely caused by their own problems, it was actually much more difficult for Chen Yi. She is a minor, young, not strong enough, mentally immature, and does not have the slightest bit of help. It's not fair to ask her to contend with adults who are like snakes and scorpions. There are too many unavoidable grievances. For a teenager, tolerating and waiting for adulthood is indeed her most feasible solution. It's a pity that the enemy is too powerful. Such a child, facing a cruel environment alone, isolated and helpless, is easily destroyed by the enemy. Feeling distressed. This article brings with it a relatively serious social issue. Here, I would like to state a few points. First, this article, is all fiction and fiction. So please don't substitute, don't take your seat according to the number. Secondly, This article is for the purpose of dramatic conflict, and the contradictions will be dealt with more intensely. If you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to comment. Thirdly, the passionate festival that appears after this article is a more suitable way to deal with the protagonist, but in real life, such methods are not advocated and encouraged. Fourth, this article mainly emphasizes that in the face of bullying, everyone cannot be afraid of evil forces and can bravely stand up and speak out. It is not intended to insinuate or criticize. It is known to everyone. Fifth, and most importantly, please do not imitate the protagonist's behavior. Please do not imitate. Please do not imitate. If you encounter domestic violence or school violence, please call the police. Can you see the author's desire for survival? Compare yourself to each other. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 142. The day Chaoran came here was the day after Chen Yi made her confession to Chen Jian, and it was also the day when Chen Yi was taken those unbearable photos. The second period in the afternoon was physical education. During free activities, Zhou Qingqing dragged Chen Yi away and said he wanted to have a good talk with her about yesterday's incident. Chen Yi refused, but Zhou Qingqing threatened her grandma. "If you don't listen to me, I will tell grandma today and tell her that you got 0 points in this exam and are ranked last in the whole grade. You have embarrassed the Chen family. You have been reported to the whole grade and made fun of by the whole school. And the reason is that you skip school and play games every day. Guess what will happen to your grandma if she finds out?" Chen Yi was shaking with anger, but she could only agree. Grandma is her weak point, and her illness is that she is afraid of being irritated. What can she do? The two went to a flower garden behind the playground. But Zhou Qingqing didn't want to talk. As soon as he arrived, he whistled, and some of the most arrogant gangsters in the school showed up. "Didn't you complain to your father that I didn't study well and bribed bad classmates to harm you?" Zhou Qingqing hugged her chest. "But so what if you know? What can you do to me? Does anyone believe you? So what if I harm you? Who told you to be such an eyesore? But it's okay, so you don't have to cover it up in the future." Zhou Qingqing turned to the gangsters and asked, "Have you brought them?" Several people took out a mobile phone. "Don't worry, it's the latest model, anti-shake, and has high pixels." "Well, not bad." Zhou Qingqing chuckled, took out a dozen red tickets from his school uniform bag, and waved them. "Take good care of her. These are the deposits. Once you've done the work, you can exchange the photos for bonuses." She even shook the bag to reveal the remaining thick wad of banknotes inside. After saying that, she clapped her hands and left. Chen Yi was shocked by this. She immediately realized that after spending so much money on such a trick, the person standing behind Zhou Qingqing was clearly Ma Xiaozu. She originally thought that Zhou Qingqing was just jealous, but apparently her stepmother was the one pushing it. Just like that, the school gangsters who usually just burned her with cigarette butts, splashed her with dirty water, poked her with pencil ends, and locked her in the bathroom, today pointed their cell phones at her. Several people were pressing closer, and Chen Yi, who didn't know what they would do, could only turn around and run away. It's class time now, and there are no people in this area behind the playground, so there are no classmates passing by. So Chen Yi wanted to ask for help, but didn't see anyone. Several gangsters deliberately chased her and prevented her from running toward the playground and teaching building. Instead, they forced her in the opposite direction. So the only direction Chen Yi could run was to that abandoned building. A quarter of the building was demolished. However, students complained that the previous demolition was too noisy, so the project was temporarily shelved. The school's plan is to knock down the building and rebuild it only during the summer vacation, which also resulted in the area only having erected buildings on weekdays. A few no-entry signs and a few cordons were put up, which actually gave the bullies an advantage, and they often smoked and drank beer secretly here. So in fact, there are not many people in this area. When Tao Ran came over, it was when Chen Yi was being chased. Chen Yi begged and threatened, but not only was it useless, she was hit several times by branches thrown from behind and hit by stones thrown several times. Even the back of her head was hit with a bulge. Chen Yi fell down several times, and she also begged several times, but these little devils felt that the more embarrassed and helpless she was, the happier they were, and they laughed even more. No, their intention is obvious. They are clearly not satisfied with the few existing photos and want to get something more exciting. That's why Chen Yi fell like this in order to escape. Tao Ran was quite angry. These brats are nothing. Although they are minors, what they are doing is committing a crime. Their outlook on life is already distorted at a young age, and they are so vicious right now. Do you really expect them to be able to change their ways and become pillars of society in a few hundred days as adults? The most ridiculous thing in the world. The law and the world are too tolerant to them, and minors will continue to commit crimes without restraint. Of course, that mother and daughter are nothing. For selfish reasons, he attacked an innocent girl and ended up killing a young man and a sick old man. It was really abominable. In the plot, today, Chen Yi was photographed in a bunch of photos. Some were bullied to the point of crying, some were begging on their knees, and some were forcibly put around each other, with their coat torn and underwear exposed. If an old lady sees such a photo, how can she not get angry? So today is the day when Chen Yi's fate is completely pushed into the abyss. Tao Ran took a deep breath. Today, she can't let this happen. Otherwise, those ugly photos will ruin Chen Yi's reputation tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and the photos will be in front of Grandma in 2 days. So, today is the key. She can't get caught. She couldn't help but miss the wrong tooth again. Very angry. Is there really no one who can take care of these lawless little beasts? Also, why can't she come half a day earlier, even half an hour earlier? It's good now. Not only are we outnumbered, but Chen Yi's physical strength and figure are obviously not suitable for fighting and escaping. Why? Outside, the footsteps and shouts of several people could already be heard, and they must have almost reached the 4th floor. Tao Ran observed the toilet. She gritted her teeth and said, "Forget it. If you don't succeed, you will be benevolent and risk it all. Can schools and society really not control these little beasts? No, it's because I don't dare to take care of it, it's inconvenient to take care of it, I'm afraid of taking care of it, I'm afraid of making trouble, I'm afraid of something going wrong, I'm afraid of taking responsibility. Now that Chen Yi is in danger of falling off the cliff, she will simply cause a big trouble and make everyone uneasy." She wanted to see who dared to turn a blind eye when everyone was facing a crisis. In the bathroom mirror, the girl's body was still bleeding from several wounds. It was so miserable. Tao Ran looked in the mirror and smeared the blood on his face, lips, neck, but it made the area even bigger. Because of these reds, the contrast between the fair, plump, and cute face is so intense that it looks terrible. Seeing that there was still some red on his hand, Tao Ran simply wrote Braille on the bathroom mirror and the corners near the back window. Then, she took off her school uniform, wearing only a white t-shirt, wrapped her school uniform around her elbows, gritted her teeth, flushed the toilet and hit the window glass hard. The glass shattered. Tao Ran bit his back molars and squeezed several drops of blood from the worn fingertips onto the window sill. At this time, the door of the women's restroom was locked from the inside, so the few little beasts outside noticed it as soon as they came nearby. "Hey, fat girl, why did you lock yourself in there? What's the point of being inside the lock? If you're desperate, why not just open the door obediently? We have good photography skills, and I promise to give you some good photos of internet celebrities. Your figure is so unique. If you post it on a certain music platform, Maybe you can become an instant hit and become an internet celebrity with millions of fans. The three people outside laughed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 143. Glass shattered all over the floor. Tao Ran picked out a slightly longer piece of triangular glass with a sharp mouth, wrapped it in his school uniform, rolled it up and tightened it, tied the two sleeves of his school uniform jacket around his waist, dragged the broken bench next to the door to the wall, and stood go up and planned to climb through the back window. Teaching buildings in the 1990s did not have any security windows, so you could climb out. There was no cover outside the fourth floor window, so she had to be especially careful because it was hanging in the air. She planned to climb up. Above is the highest point of the building, the spacious terrace. After pushing the window open, she could step up on the iron window frame and pull on the iron railing of the balcony above, and then she could go up to the terrace smoothly. Well, it's easy to think of. But when it comes to operation, she just wants to curse. Just the act of climbing out of the window made her out of breath. The physique of this body is definitely comparable to Yang Yu's body before. Tao Ran murmured, "Can you give me a weaker body for the next mission?" Tao Ran almost used all his strength to get out of the back window and climbed up on the window frame. But the window frame was already rusty, and the hinges were no longer very secure. When she stepped on it, the whole window shook, and there was always a danger of breaking and falling. The chubby hands and feet are soft, fully interpreting the words, "The heart is full of energy but the strength is not enough." Tao Ran gritted his teeth and almost used his hands and feet. After experiencing 360-degree friction on his elbows, ankles and knees, and adding a lot of minor scratches, he managed to climb up. This is all thanks to the skills she learned previously for filming action scenes. And the last kick of her foot also made the ancient iron window click, the hinges broke, and it hung dangling in the air. A few gangsters also rushed open the door. When they saw the shaking window, the footprints and blood stains on the windowsill, they were startled, thinking that Chen Yi had fallen. Several people leaned forward to check and found that Chen Yi had gone up to the terrace, and they all exhaled. "Chase," the boss said. Unfortunately, the window frame fell apart and they had to climb the stairs to the terrace from the other side. "Boss, why don't you stop chasing me?" one guy got scared. "That fat girl is not feeling right today. Why is she so crazy? She even dares to climb through such a dangerous window." "Yeah, if you keep chasing me, nothing will happen." The boss also hesitated. On the other side, Tao Ran, who was sweating profusely, did not dare to rest. After reaching the top terrace, he ran in the other direction, the half of the building where a large part of the construction had been demolished and was in tatters, with only the frame left. According to Chen Yi's memory, the terraces in several parts of this building are connected. Although the first half of the first floor is locked and sealed, the top terrace can be accessed. This desolate ruins is just right for her now, it suits the situation. As for a drama, if you want it to be more realistic, the environment and background are still very important. She quickly found her stage, a reinforced concrete slab with a quarter stick on the outside. This position was originally supposed to have a sign or a school emblem hanging on it, but it was particularly conspicuous when it was in mid-air. Now that the sign has been removed, there is such a nondescript protrusion. She observed it, picked up several large handfuls from the cement rubble on the floor, and spread it on the convex half of the cement slab. She untied her school uniform from her waist and placed the triangular glass piece wrapped inside at her feet for later use. The school uniform shook and was knotted loosely around the shoulders and neck. The afternoon wind blew across the roof, causing her school uniform to flutter. All preparations are in place. She once again confirmed that the cement board was solid, and then stood up carefully. Relying on this cement board, she seemed to be half suspended on the top floor. She wasn't very afraid, after all, Diao had reached this height before. The show begins. Tao Ran worked up his emotions, raised his chest, tightened his abdomen, raised his energy, gathered strength, opened his throat, and let out a powerful ah. She didn't believe it yet. How could such a broad and thick target attract attention? She didn't even believe that her precarious, eye-catching, and well-marked position could make everyone in the school turn a blind eye. Help, life, three words, after each word is exhaled, it rises an octave, and the final scream is penetrated with the highest note. In the small forest in front, the sparrows were frightened and flew out with flapping wings. After two more roars, Tao Ran saw dozens of pairs of eyes on the playground. The physical education teacher was the first to react, and then rushed over in a hurry, waving his hands. The whole playground suddenly boiled. The whole class was in chaos. There were screams and most of the students started to rush over. Tao Ran's screams made many people's hearts tremble, but also caused many timid female voices to shout along with them. Having come this far, Tao Ran was not polite. She kept screaming one after another, almost causing the entire campus to be enveloped in the terrifying echoes. It was during class that her voice was so penetrating that everyone in the teaching building was shocked. Listening carefully, the voice was full of tears, filled with grief and despair, like a last cry or an accusation in a desperate situation. It made all the teachers and students feel nervous and panicked. The three little gangsters who had just walked around the stairs to the top platform were also dumbfounded. They just thought about it, but still felt unwilling to do so. Now that they have taken over Joe Kinking's job, if they give up halfway, how will their brother's face be saved? How are you going to hang out in front of beautiful women in the future? They can't even get a fat girl. Why don't they make those boys from number 2 middle school laugh to death when they go back? So the three of them joined forces and gave chase. But in front of him, Tao Ran stood on the half-suspended stone slab, only one step away from falling. If the fat girl sways a few times more, slips on her feet, or fails to hold her fat hand, she will fall. All three of them had weak legs. If you go down from such a high 5-story building, if you are lucky, you will lose your hands and feet, but if you are unlucky, you will only get a piece of meat pie. They just wanted to have fun, make some money, and because the beautiful Zhou Qingqing admired them, they didn't get into such a big deal. Dead or not, it's very troublesome. By then, they will be sent to a juvenile reformatory, right? Will there be any stains? Will the family beat them to death? What about my girlfriend outside school? They can graduate in another year and a half. If they are locked up, wouldn't they be in trouble? Also, why is this fat girl shouting so miserable? Fat girl, stop shouting. If you keep shouting like this, a small matter will turn into a big deal. If the school leaders really want to recruit you, it won't be a matter of turning a blind eye. Shut up, we can consider letting you go today. Tao Ran just pretended not to hear and continued to howl in her crying voice. Pooh! She doesn't believe these people. And what have they been doing? Chen Yi begged them earlier, but they didn't let her go. Now that she is at a dead end, are they afraid? Haha, evil people must be punished by the evil method. Now it is not a matter of whether they let go or not, but it depends on my mood and I can do whatever I want. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 144. Help! Tao Ran continued to yell. The three people jumped. Who wants your life? You either shut up or get down. Otherwise, we will really kill you. Help, kill, people, la dash. The echoes of kill, kill, and kill echoed in circles, calling the three gangsters around. Boss, if not, let's go. Yes, Boss, fat girl is a little out of control today. Is she crazy? We are here. We are afraid of something happening if something goes wrong. No. Scar put the tip of his tongue against his cheek, thought for a moment and then shook his head. If she keeps shouting like that, all the school leaders will be attracted in a while. If she talks nonsense, then we will be the unlucky ones. Hurry up. Before anyone comes over, let's go pull her down together, cover her mouth, and get this matter over with. The three of them stepped forward step by step. Tao Ran turned around. Don't come over here. If you come over again, I'll jump down. The three of them stopped and hesitated. Scar gritted his teeth and said, don't we know the virtues of the fat girl? Usually when we bully her, she would just cry. She is so timid, she doesn't dare to jump. As for Tao Ran, he couldn't help but let out a chuckle when he saw his physical education teacher, who boasted that he was the first in the city in the 100-meter run at a speed of 50 meters. It came quickly. Of course it is not because he is responsible, on the contrary, it is because he is afraid of being responsible for what happened today. Now Chenyi is taking his physical education class, and he has the responsibility of guardianship. But he didn't take care of people, so he was naturally afraid that something would happen. The physical education teacher Wu Hua's eyes were red as he ran all the way. He didn't know whether it was because he sweated in or because he was anxious and angry. He just saw someone shouting for help on the abandoned building from a distance, and he was still wondering who was causing trouble. But several of his students said that the voice seemed to be that of their classmates. The target girl is too conspicuous, and that width, not many people can relate to. Then he remembered the fat girl who failed every physical education exam. At that time, he was so angry that he rushed over. During his free time, he just drank a glass of water. Why did his student come here? When he catches someone, he must teach him a lesson. Can't you go up or down? What nonsense! But the more he ran, the more frightened he became, because he gradually saw how terrifying the girl's position was. If you are not careful, your life will be over. In that position, could it be suicide? But with his naked 2.0 eyes, he could clearly see the blood all over the girl's white t-shirt, which was shocking. This is so. Could it be murder? Sure enough, as soon as he came up with this guess, he heard the girl shouting killer. At that moment, all the hair on his body stood up, and his vest was instantly soaked with cold sweat. Then he saw three little beasts, who were still pressing on the girl step by step. Wu Hua just ran to the abandoned downstairs and was about to speak, when a piece of fly ash and rubble was falling above his head. Don't come over here. I beg you, don't come over here. The fat girl stepped back on the cement stone steps, her weak legs were trembling, and she waved a piece of triangular glass in her hand, feeling a little excited. God knows, when the cement crumbs fell, Wu Hua's legs also became weak. Classmate, don't get excited. Wu Hua couldn't remember the girl's name. I'm Teacher Wu. Professor Wu. Yes, 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 grab the railing and look down. Your PE teacher, Teacher Wu. Don't panic. The teacher is here. Teacher, have you seen the three of them? They want to kill me. I have no place to escape. They forced me to this position. I have no way to go away. When I die, you must help me call the police. From above, Tao Ran was twitching, and when his feet moved, more cement dust flew out. Wu Hua's heart clenched. He almost exerted great strength, turning all the energy in his danshan into a roar. What are you doing? Get off here. Wang Shu, Lu Hua, Tan Xiao. I can see you clearly, the three bullies are famous in the school, but no one can do anything about it. He has been causing trouble all day long and doing many bad things, and this time he has started to kill people. If you don't want to remember a big demerit, please ask your parents to get out of here immediately if you are punished. Bad luck, the three little overlords spat, no longer daring to act rashly, and shouted down, "Teacher Wu, don't listen to her nonsense, we are playing hide and seek. It's okay." The three of them saw that many classmates had already gathered. Teachers were coming from the direction of the administration building and teaching building. No matter how unhappy they were, they had no choice but to give up. Before leaving, the three of them did not forget to warn Chen Yi. "Fat girl, be careful with your mouth. If you dare to talk nonsense, we have plenty of ways to deal with you. By then, unless you transfer to another school, no, unless you go to school in another city, you will never escape from our hands. So, you'd better be honest and tell them it was a joke." Tao Ran hugged his head and screamed again. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Teacher Wu, it's all your fault. You scolded them, and they got angry. They said that if I exposed them, they would kill me. Did you hear that? What the hell?" The three of them jumped up. "Asshole," Wu Hua was already scolding from below. "You brats! I say it again, get out of here. Otherwise, I will personally twist you and take you to the police station." "Classmate, don't get excited. Just stand still." Wu Hua jumped to his feet. He wanted to cry, he had a bad feeling, he didn't have to think about this year's evaluation. Seeing that there were more people, the three little ruffians could only start to retreat. "Classmate, the teacher will save you right now. Just stand still and don't move." Wu Hua saw the principal coming and decided to show off. "Don't come up." Tao Ran lifted his foot, causing sand and gravel to fly, which frightened Wu Hua and Chen Yi, the homeroom teacher who had just arrived, out of breath, and their hearts almost jumped out of their chests. "I won't go down." Tao Ran continued to cry. "They're going to kill me when I get down there." "Will not. I don't believe you. As a physical education teacher, you can't control them or help me." "Chen Yi. Teacher Han is here. Look at me, Teacher Han is here." Chen Yi's class teacher Han Mingli said quickly. At this moment, she felt the same as Wu Hua. It's over, this year's merit evaluation is about to be completed, and the bonuses for this semester are about to go out. If it doesn't work, it will still have to be dealt with. This unlucky kid. I don't believe you either. Tao Ran howled loudly. You only scold me and never believe me. I have told you so many times that Wang Shu and others bully me, but you don't care at all. You only keep me away from them, but you don't. I have no control over whether they will chase and bully me. Tao Ran got excited and simply squatted down. The movement of her chubby body caused the cement board above to vibrate several times, frightening the teachers below and the school leaders who rushed there to weaken their legs. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 145. The principal glared at the head teacher Han Lyman. It was really useless. What are you doing to eat? As a class teacher, he is not trusted by students. Classmate Chen Yi, right. The principal spoke up. I am Principal Cai of our middle school. If anything happens, can we come down and talk to you? As the principal, I can definitely help you. You have to trust the principal. Principal Cai was also complaining in his heart. If something happened, the school's evaluation this year would definitely be gone. There will also be penalties from above, which will affect the reputation of the school and cause many problems such as thorough investigation, student sources, reputation, etc. Of course, the most important thing is that he may be removed. It is not easy to reach this position as the head of a school. He does not want to leave. So, he put on his standard smile. Classmate, if you don't trust the teacher and the head teacher, you should trust the principal, right? Principal Cai's mind was racing. If he handles this crisis well, it might be a blessing in disguise, which is not necessarily a good thing. Classmate, Look at this. Principal Cai will personally bring you down. Then he will make the decision for you, and he will give you justice. What do you think? When the time comes, it will be a good story. Guide media reports, shoot videos, and push hot searches. The principal is not afraid of danger and saves a classmate who has a mental breakdown. Not only will such a topic not be scolded, but it will push his own reputation and image upwards. Maybe he can use this to go even higher? Stand still, the principal will come up at this moment. Principal Cai felt that he had shown the greatest sincerity. No. I don't believe you either. Tao Ran sneered lightly. You can't help me either. On the contrary, she was even more excited. Those bad students in school are doing bad things everywhere. How could the school not know about it? There are so many students who are being bullied, but the school has not helped us at all. You don't care at all. So I don't believe you. I can't go down. I'm afraid die. They will kill me. Looking at Principal Cai's pale face, Tao Ran sneered. Are you afraid now? As long as something happens to her on school grounds, the school will have nothing to do with it, let alone if she is in a dangerous building. There are not enough warnings, not enough protection, not enough vigilance, not enough supervision. If the school originally only had to bear 20–30% of the responsibility, now it has to bear at least half of the responsibility. In the final analysis, we are still irresponsible to the students. Can these school leaders not be anxious? So now they can rush over one by one as fast as they can. This time, Tao Ran leaned back from his crouching position and simply sat down on the concrete slab. The huge body moved like this, shaking again, dust flew up, and the people below were frightened to scream. The principal was scolded by his own students for being incompetent in public. After blushing, he could only jump at the onlookers behind him. Why are you arguing? It's class time. Which class are you in? What are you doing here? Wu Hua stammered, physical education class. Go back to the classroom, no noise, no coming out. No. You are not allowed to leave. Tao Ran became excited again. As soon as he stretched out his legs, several small fist-sized rocks fell down with a crash. Why do you want to drive away my classmates? Do you still want to protect those bad guys? Are you afraid that your classmates will know that you are protecting them? I know that if they dare to be so rampant in school, they have someone to support them. Yes. You guys. She certainly didn't expect these classmates to do anything for her. But these people are at least witnesses. The more the school wanted to keep things quiet, the more she had to do the exact opposite. Principal Cai's scalp was numb. Chen Yi, please don't get excited. Don't make wild guesses. Principal Cai promises you that he will not protect those people. Don't worry, your teachers and classmates are all here. What can we do? Leave them all. Because the school doctor is also here. He took a look with the binoculars and told him that the student Chen Yi above her was pale, her eyes were empty, and she was trembling with fear and despair. The glass she was holding onto was also very dangerous and seemed to have been cut. Her hands without knowing it. What the school doctor meant was, try to follow her instructions and persuade her. You can only induce her. You must not stimulate her anymore, and you must not make her excited. The principal also looked carefully through the telescope. At this glance, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. This student, why are the patches on his white t-shirt bright red? Is it all blood? And that face, that neck, that hand, almost all the exposed skin is stained with blood. This is not just a matter of whether she can dance or not. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, feeling anxious. So, in order to appease Chen Yi, who was almost out of control, the entire class was left behind again. The school doctor stepped forward and raised the first aid kit. Classmate Chen Yi, I am Dr. Zhang. I saw you were injured. How about we bandage it first? Are you willing to come down? Maybe I can go up. It's not going to survive anyway, so what's the point of bandaging it? It's all death anyway, I might as well choose the way I want to die. Don't get excited, what do you mean? Principal Cai really wanted to cry. First, someone else wanted to kill her, now she herself is dying? Homicide and suicide are both the responsibility that the school and he cannot bear. Your youth is a wonderful time, don't let it get to you. There is nothing you can't overcome. Principal Cai called the dean of students to come over to persuade him, and then asked the head teacher to contact Chen Yi's parents quickly. On the other side, under the instruction of Principal Cai, the three overlords Wang Shu, Lu Hua, and Tan Chao have been turned around by several male teachers. At this moment, the entire school senior management wanted to skin these three people. These three never stop talking. These children are incompetent and have never gotten into trouble like this before. If something happens today, all of them will be held accountable. These days, it is either not exposed, or if it is exposed, the handling cannot be covered up casually. They were fortunate that the mistake was not yet made. There is still a chance to remedy the situation. As long as it is handled properly, this matter will be easy to handle. To be honest, these three guys are really hateful. They made such a big mistake and just wanted to escape. Fortunately, Principal Cai had the foresight to think that the boss was still hanging around there, but he couldn't let these three boys escape anymore. He was afraid that two of them would be responsible for defaulting on their duties today, so he sent several male teachers to arrest them. Finally, he caught three people who were trying to escape from the school by climbing over the wall, and dragged them over. Classmate Chen Yi, did you see that? The principal kept his word. Principal Cai personally grabbed the scarred Wang Shu and pushed him forward. The three people who bullied you have been caught, and they will not hurt you again. Come down now, calm down, and let's have a good chat. Let's see how to deal with the three of them, okay? No matter what, you have to coax people down first. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 146. The three little ruffians were very mean-spirited, and they were still jumping up and down at this time, indicating that they were innocent and had been framed. Principal Cai was annoyed. Shut up. These people who can't support the wall, no wonder they can only be small exiles, they just have no brains. Now is the time for them to explain and talk back. In case it irritates or arouses the emotions of the person above, let's finish the game together. Shut up, all three of you. No one is allowed to say another word before Chen Yi comes down. Tao Ran raised his eyebrows secretly. Right, if she doesn't cause trouble, who will help her arrest people? These guys did bad things and walked away, who could she reason with? This place is in tatters, and there are no surveillance cameras in sight. Without evidence, who can believe her? Just catch it? She still didn't believe that she couldn't deal with them today. She is a minor, what else does she have besides this life? Therefore, she could only use this little life to make a fuss. If a good person is bullied, then she will be a bad person. Anyway, it's just a knife to stretch her head and shrink her head, so why can't she be happy? She was desperate anyway, so if she could be ruthless enough, maybe no one would dare to openly bully her in the future. The scoundrels have to go around her. Even the school has to protect her. Chen Yi was bullied repeatedly at school, and the school did not supervise it well, so she should be held responsible. Who is innocent? What's the use of catching them? Why don't you just educate them, call their parents to talk to them, and let them go? What about tomorrow? What about the day after tomorrow? I don't have to be punished by them. Bullied, intimidated by them, hunted by them. Taoran was still unhappy. Because she has clearly emphasized it too many times. He said that someone was killing her and she couldn't survive. She was desperate. As long as she wasn't deaf, there was no way she wouldn't have heard it. Her face was covered with blood, and she had clearly been persecuted just now. As long as she was not blind, there was no way she could not see it. Her mental state is already very bad, and her situation is even more critical. As long as she is an adult with a brain and common sense, her first judgment now is not to deal with it, but to call the police, call 119, or call 120. This is a basic operation that even a 3-year-old knows. But what are those people down there doing? So far, they have not called the police, have not sought rescue and support, and have not taken her injuries seriously. To put it bluntly, they are still thinking about themselves. They don't want to make a big fuss, but whenever there is a slight chance, they want to cover up this matter, and they will never let this matter have a chance to be exposed. And isn't this also the catalyst for many acts of violence? Isn't this an important reason why many children like Chenyi are living in hell but have no way to complain? So these people are not accomplices of the perpetrators? That's why those scumbags are so emboldened and unscrupulous, and they are repeatedly banned, right? Taoran was angry, but he couldn't let them get what they wanted. When she got angry, she changed from sitting to squatting. She grasped the railing tightly with one hand and slipped on purpose. The dust on the toe was kicked away, causing everyone below to feel nervous. What a great aunt! Classmate Chenyi, you are still young, don't be extreme. What do you really want? As long as you say it. Just wait for this sentence. I don't believe anyone. I want the police, she shouted excitedly. I only trust the police. They want me to come down unless all these bad guys are arrested. She was heartbroken and simply put the triangular glass that she had been holding onto for a long time on her neck. I'm going to die anyway, I might as well choose the way I want to die. Well, she has prepared a double insurance, jumping off the building and committing suicide. If she is not careful, the responsibility will be on the school. The school wanted to settle the matter, but she refused to let it go. Taoran was sure that after what he did, the school, which was afraid of taking responsibility, would never have the thought of rashly coming to the rescue again. And she didn't forget to pull off the loose school uniform on her shoulders with a little trick. The blood-stained school uniform fluttered in the wind, fell down, and finally fell 10 steps away from everyone. Everybody saw it. The school uniform was stained with blood, and the blood-red color was particularly conspicuous against the original blue and white background. Many girls screamed in surprise, as if they could smell the traces of blood in their noses. Very scary. At this time, several senior officials in the school looked at each other and exhaled heavily. Call the police, a vice principal said. That classmate has been standing there for a long time. I don't know if the cement is strong or not. The main reason is that the classmate is so fat. Don't make a big fuss and end up making a mistake. Then you shouldn't die unjustly. The school also has a big responsibility. And I saw that her legs were shaking. Could it be that they are numb? Her hands may be tired after holding onto the railing for so long. The longer it takes, the more dangerous it will be. It's better to be careful. And it's getting late. This matter needs to be resolved quickly. School will be over in more than an hour. We still need time to suppress the incident, otherwise we will start to pick up and drop off students soon. Once parents come, it will not be easy to cover up. Several principals sighed together. Struggle to no avail. They tried their best. Just call the police. They were really afraid something would happen. And looking at the scary school uniform, they had to call 120. To prevent Chen Yi from falling, sponge mats used in all physical education classes in the school were also dragged and laid out. It's so frustrating. The principal took action again and began to comfort Chen Yi. Classmate, we can't be so excited or reckless when doing things. Think about it, you still have relatives and parents. If something happens to you, what will they do? How sad will they be? We have notified your family and they are on the way. Come. Next, there was a series of persuasion from the principal, school senior officials, and teachers. The nearest police station is only 10 minutes away from here. Since the police have been called, instead of risking liability to save people, they might as well wait for the police to come to rescue. When Chao Ran saw that they didn't move, he calmed down a little and pretended to be calmer. But she was exhausted. This body is indeed too taxing. In just such a short time, the t-shirt was completely wet. It was also a good thing that the cement board she chose was very strong, otherwise she wouldn't have dared to jump around like this. After resting for 2 minutes, a figure was running towards me from a distance. Chao Ran cheered up again. You guys! She became excited and took another step outside. You just said you informed my family, but did you also notify her? The person coming is none other than Ma Xiaozu. I knew you had bad intentions. Chao Ran showed unprecedented excitement. She burst into tears and tried to stand up, but the cement board shook several times, scaring a group of school senior officials below to the point of having a heart attack. As expected, no one is really willing to help me. I'm at my wit's end, but instead of notifying my dad, you notified my stepmother to come see me. You really want to force me to death. Okay, now, if these plague gods in school can't kill me, my stepmother will have to kill me too. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 147. Stepmother. Several school senior officials glared at the head teacher, Han Mingli. What's going on? Is this a pig? Notify her parents, but she notified her stepmother? Then Chen Yi obviously has a bad relationship with her stepmother, so she asked her stepmother to come over. Isn't this adding fuel to the fire? Her stepmother, Han Mingli was dumbfounded. She didn't know until now that Chen Yi and Ma Xiaozu didn't have a good relationship. She had a good impression of Ma Xiaozu. This woman is gentle, kind, and friendly to others. Whenever something happens in the class, Ma Xiaozu is willing to come forward. Whenever Chen Yi causes trouble, it is Ma Xiaozu who comes to deal with the aftermath. Even when she returned home from several parent-teacher conferences, Ma Xiaozu would hold her daughter by the arm, looking very harmonious. Everyone said that Ma Xiaozu was almost a role model for stepmothers, even better than her own mother. So she just subconsciously called Ma Xiaozu. And Ma Xiaozu also told her that there was no need to call her husband, she would bring him with her, so Han Mingli only made one call. At this moment, Han Mingli took a quick look and saw that there was no sign of Chen Yi's father. Then Ma Xiaozu didn't lie to herself? Han Mingli was afraid that she would get into trouble, so she hurriedly rushed forward. Chen Yi's mother, where is Chen Yi's father? Her dad, is busy at the company and in a meeting. He can't get away. I came here first. Han Mingli's expression changed when she heard this, and her beautiful image of Ma Xiaozu collapsed instantly. Pooh. Lie. Meeting. Give me a break. His biological daughter is about to die, and he is still in a meeting. She definitely didn't tell Chen Yi's father, right? Han Mingli, who was under sudden pressure, quickly went aside and made a call. Hello? Chen Yi's father, come to school quickly. What? You don't know yet. Han Mingli had the wrong tooth, she really didn't know. This stepmother is not simple. Dating was always just an act in the past, right? Thanks to Chen Yi's father, who came back to school to ask about Chen Yi and left a phone number at that time. Otherwise, she would not be able to continue her job as a class teacher. Ma Xiaozu's mind was not with her head teacher at the moment. She saw Chen Yi above, who was only one step away from death or disability. She felt anxious but still had a glimmer of hope. If Chen Yi fell, it would be all over. But before that, she still had to figure out what happened. She quickly found her daughter in the crowd. Ching Ching, she took Zhou Ching Ching and asked questions. Did you see it? Unexpectedly, Chen Yi became excited again and pointed her glass-grabbing hand at Ma Xiaozu and her daughter. This mother and daughter, they don't care about my life or death at all. They just want to conspire to see how to get rid of this matter, how to fool it, and how to hide it from my father. How can you find my stepmother? You are so do it, this will force me to death. Ma Xiaozu. Zhou Ching Ching. Just as they stepped aside and prepared to go behind the tree, the mother and daughter holding hands were stared at by hundreds of pairs of eyes. They each took 1 foot into the grass and didn't know whether to step it down or take it back. I really wanted to swear. What is Chen Yi talking about? The two of them almost subconsciously let go of their holding hands. Ma Xiaozu looked at her daughter. Zhou Ching Ching nodded in response. Ma Xiaozu immediately understood that it was bad. Today's matter had something to do with her daughter. Zhou Ching Ching almost had a headache. Because of Chen Yi's complaint the day before, Zhou Ching Ching planned to teach Chen Yi a lesson so that she would not dare to cause trouble in the future. She just spent some money to let Wang Shu and the others get some fierce photos to give Chen Yi some color, completely destroying her self-confidence and making her more autistic, more annoying, and even less popular with her father. If those photos are interesting, spread them among her classmates to isolate her even more. She has been in a very low mood recently. If this continues, she will fail the high school entrance examination. With her image like this, and a junior high school student with no skills, what can she do in the future? Dad will be even more disappointed in her. She also had no hope of taking over her father's company, which had done very well in recent years. As for my mother, if she is like that, it will be difficult to get married in the future. The best result in the end is to stay with that old woman and be an old girl for the rest of her life. That old woman is also hateful, and she never gives my mother a good look. When she got the ugly photos of Chen Yi, she opened the old woman's eyes to see what her biological granddaughter was. She didn't know if the old woman would get excited and die. It would be better if she really died, and she would be able to help her mother and brother clear the way forward. Zhou Ching Ching thought her plan was fine, but she didn't know how it ended up in the current situation. Why is it that Chen Yi, who is usually timid and cowardly, seems to have taken the wrong medicine today? She really wanted to ask Wang Shu and the others what happened, but now, let alone approaching those 3 people, she was just begging her grandfather to tell her grandma, hoping that Wang Shu and the others would not recruit her. Of course, Wang Shu and the others were kept aside by the teachers, and she couldn't get close to them at all. So Zhou Ching Ching was scared to death. She has been shrinking her presence and hiding among her classmates. No matter what nonsense Chen Yi is talking about above, she resists saying nothing because she is afraid of attracting Chen Yi's attention. Sure enough, sure enough. As soon as Mom here came, Chen Yi started. Look at how vicious she is now, it's right for me to trample her to death in one breath. Zhou Ching Ching bit her lip and stared at Chen Yi. If she hadn't been afraid of dragging her into it, she would have killed her. Ma Xiaozu, on the other hand, was busy bowing and apologizing to the school leaders. This child has been spoiled by me. She has a bad temper and loves to show off her temper. I'm sorry, leaders. When I go back, I will educate her well. Ma Xiaozu has kind eyebrows, delicate makeup, soft voice, and mostly beige and brown clothes. She is atmospheric and friendly, so she makes a good impression on everyone. and what she is best at is using her strengths to show her tenderness. This humble attitude at this moment really seems like Chenyi is messing around. These words sounded comfortable, and the faces of the school leaders softened a lot. Then she wiped tears at Chenyi above her. Xiaoi, Mom is here for you. If you have any grievances, tell Mom. Mom will make the decision for you. Come down and talk to Mom. How could the stepdaughter who usually dare not say a word have become like this? Ma Xiaozi couldn't help but glance at her daughter complainingly. As long as you come down, Mom will promise you anything. The principal and the others are busy, so don't mess around, and let's not disturb them. If anything happens, Mom is here. She burst into tears, and I felt pity for him. You are a vicious stepmother, pretending to be a good mother. Do you dare to tell them how you abuse me in daily life? Tao Ran was talking nonsense. As soon as these words came out, discussions immediately started. Stepmother and stepdaughter, this topic is always sensitive. What's more, it is the vulnerable group of underage daughters who are looking for life and death. Most normal people will subconsciously think that the problem lies with stepmothers. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 148. Tao Ran didn't think he could play Ma Xiaozu any better. When her emotions were revealed, who could feel her injustice towards her stepmother? You are so fake and compassionate. Aren't you afraid that I will reveal all your scandals? Aren't you afraid that everyone will see through your hypocrisy? Do you think the leaders, teachers, and classmates of our school are all stupid? You can't see it even if you bow a few times. Is it your fault? Do you think everyone is as blind and dark-hearted as you? Didn't you hear that I was being hunted, and didn't you see that I was dying? Why do you indiscriminately assume that I have a bad temper? It was my fault. Are you sure there is such a mother in the world? As a mother, shouldn't you protect your children unconditionally? Everyone was silent. Hey, that makes sense. Ma Xiaozu didn't react at once and opened her mouth wide. Before she could say no, the emotional Chen Yi shouted loudly to cover up her words. If you were my mother, my real mother, my good mother, you should have cried and cared about me as soon as I came up, or lost control of your emotions and beat up those bad people, instead of secretly dragging your own daughter away and whispering. Then deliberately pretending to be the principal came in front of me and scolded me in various ways, and even apologized for me. I did something wrong and you apologized? You really went to great lengths to discredit me? Her acting skills are so bad, but a lot of people still believe in her. You usually hide your cruelty to me from my father, but now I'm going to die, and you're happy. You can't wait for it, are you very happy? You just plan to seal my coffin and settle the matter before my father comes. Is it on me? When my dad comes later, are you going to start talking bad about me as usual? Are you going to file a complaint again and let him scold me and hit me? Tao Ran has specially practiced lines and has also dubbed movies and animations. She spoke these words hoarsely and full of emotion at her fingertips, without giving anyone a chance to interrupt. Just like you don't know, and you think you are the mother of those 3 guys who bullied me. God is watching what you do, sooner or later you will be struck by thunder and get retribution. Okay, just step on me. I listen. I want to see what excuse you are going to give me this time when my dad is here. Are you trying to say that my mental state is not good and I may be mentally ill? Tao Ran spoke freely. She doesn't have any special purpose. She mainly wants to find something for everyone to eat while procrastinating. She has always only emphasized Ma Xiaozu's viciousness and again, but did not point out a single instance. Because it's not necessary yet. Among the most popular stories in the world, apart from love, it is probably the story between stepmother and stepdaughter, right? After all, even fairy tales are not exempt from clichés, and at least 6 out of 10 fairy tales feature evil stepmothers. Everyone will make up their own minds. She just needs to be a vulnerable group and let everyone imagine. Judging from the surprised expressions on Masayozu's faces, whispers, and now contemptuous expressions on the faces of the people around her, this effect should be pretty good. But Taoran didn't know that she was actually right. When she was making accusations just now, Masayozu, who was embarrassed but couldn't speak, was actually talking to the people around her. The child is a little agitated. It has been a while. Her father and I suspected that it might be depression. She just got pregnant these days. I contacted her psychiatrist, but before she had time to see her, who would have guessed that this happened? But just as she was saying this, who would have thought that Taoran, who was above her, seemed to have heard her and guessed the plot of her mental illness. Haha, so embarrassing. Because of this sentence, everyone's hearts went to Chen Yi. No matter how you look at it, the one above is more convincing. By this time, many classmates and teachers began to feel sorry for Chen Yi. So pitiful. It must be difficult to have a stepmother at home and be bullied at school. Masayozu opened her mouth wide and felt a little at a loss. Chen Yi, it wasn't like this before. Had she always been faking it? Her sudden behavior caught her off guard. So difficult. Xiaoi. Tears rolled out of her eyes. How can you say that about mom? But just as she opened her mouth, she was interrupted again. Shut up. Get out. Taoran waved the glass in her hand. Standing high and looking far away, she saw the police car approaching the school gate. She decided to do a little trick. With a little force on his hand, the hand holding the glass overflowed with blood again. If you don't get out, I will die now. She put the glass on her neck, which frightened several leaders into breaking into cold sweats. Through the telescope, they saw red dripping down their necks. This scene would kill them. Classmate Chen Yi, don't get excited. If you don't want to see your stepmother, we'll ask her to step back. Don't get excited. Your father is already on the way. Please be patient. Several female teachers came up and pulled the reluctant Masayozu back 30 steps without saying a word. The police arrived. When they saw the situation at the scene, they were drooling. Darling, is it so serious and dangerous? It must have been at least half an hour since the incident occurred, but I didn't know that I had to call the police 10 minutes ago. Officer Feng, who was in charge of the operation, scanned everyone in the school one by one, which was really good. After making a call, they immediately notified the fire department to prepare an air mattress, and arranged for people to call in a psychologist and prepare an ambulance. Classmate, my surname is Feng, and I belong to the city police station. I can help you. Officer Feng persuaded him calmly, and finally made Taoran put down the glass in his hand temporarily. But he failed when he induced Chen Yi to take the initiative to retreat away from the concrete slab where he was standing. I can't go back. Why? Because if I go back, I will die. Unless you promise, I won't die after I go back. We promise, no one will kill you. Then arrest those 3 people first. Taoran pointed at the 3 ruffians again. They want to kill me. If they are good, then I will still be killed by them if I go down. So, as long as they are not arrested, I will not go down. Taoran saw the police winking at each other. She has appeared in public welfare criminal investigation short films and also starred in police movies. She understands the general process. If she doesn't go down, they will definitely have to find other ways to come up and take her. Don't even think about coming up. If you get to this platform, I'll jump right off. Or. She put the triangular glass she had just put down back around her neck again. If you stick it for half a second, it may be faster than you can stop me. God knows, Officer Feng, who had just tried so hard to get her to put down the glass, was feeling aggrieved and depressed now that he thought he had made such little progress. It had been a long time since he had encountered such a difficult victim, They really planned to sneak up from several directions. Abandoned building. But it's very troublesome because Chen Yi is at the highest point of the building. Whenever someone goes up, it is almost impossible to escape her eyes. And they just asked for the architectural drawings and contacted the previous construction team. The other party said that the building was very old and part of it was demolished last time. Many structures may not be reliable. In other words, the place Chen Yi was in was quite dangerous. If one of their men went up and she got excited, an irreversible tragedy would probably occur. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 149. In order to ensure the safety of students, Officer Feng had to consider other milder methods first. They cannot act rashly until the air mattress is installed and medical personnel arrive. So we can only focus on persuasion. Tao Ran, in a word, they just murdered me, will you catch them? If you accuse them, the police will open a case for investigation. Then are you willing to come down and tell us clearly? I don't want to. They are minors, you won't do anything to them. But I am miserable. As long as they are determined to have broken the law, the police will act impartially. However, Wang Shu and the others, who thought they had suffered a lot and suffered great injustice, couldn't bear it any longer. They kept silent, thinking of the overall situation and giving the police face, but if the fat girl opened her eyes and told lies and led her away, they would have to be imprisoned and serve jail time without doing anything. What a good thing. The three of them jumped almost at the same time. One shouted injustice, one warned Chen Yi, and the other cursed Chen Yi. That Wang Shu was particularly excited. The last time he stabbed a classmate in the eye with a pen, he had already been sent to a juvenile correctional facility. When he came out, he was warned that if he went in again, the punishment would be doubled. Chen Yi. IXXXX. I'm warning you, be careful what you say. If you dare to talk nonsense, you and I will not be finished. If I want you to die, can you still stand up and talk now? I finally showed mercy to you today, you still dare to be so arrogant, do you really want to die? If you don't tell the truth, I will make you regret it sooner or later. Young man, that's how it is. When the blood is high and impulsive, you don't care about anything. Chen Jian arrived at this moment. He saw that the Yazan who was caught by the police was not honest, jumping up and down, spitting sweet things at his daughter, and making evil threats. The daughter, whose life was hanging by a thread, was standing a few floors up, only one step away from death. She was holding her head and pulling her hair in agony. She suddenly squatted down and the whole cement board shook violently, scaring everyone below to scream. Several girls were so frightened that they cried. Chen Yi squatted on the trembling cement floor and screamed. No. Stop talking. I knew it. I said, I can't live. If I go down, they will kill me. My stepmother will kill me. Everyone wants me to die. No one cares about me, believe me. The world is so big, but there is no place for me. There are so many people, but no one can help me. I don't understand, what did I do wrong? The broken emotions she showed at this moment were not acted by her, but her real feelings. The moment she saw Chen Jian, she collapsed. It really collapsed. From the body, from the inside out. That kind of pain and hatred, from the heart and brain to the limbs, is like overwhelming, those are the emotions that this body originally carries. At that moment, Tao Ran didn't stop. The emotion was so powerful that her body trembled greatly, and even her legs became a little weak. She subconsciously squatted down to barely maintain her balance. Feeling heartbroken, Taoran suddenly understood at this moment that Chen Jian and Chen Yi were the last straw that broke the camel's back. Chen Yi cannot be accepted by her classmates, disliked by teachers, and can endure all kinds of persecution from her stepsister and stepmother, but she cannot accept the incomprehension and distrust of her only close relative other than her grandmother. Without her mother, her father is her closest relative. All her tolerance was for the purpose of making dad happy. That was her deepest love and blessing for her father. But when her grandma passed away and her father beat and scolded her, the last attachment to this world in her heart was broken away. Her father told her to get lost without saying a word, and she suddenly realized that she was redundant. Those four people are a family. The sky collapses. The ground cracks. Her death, in addition to following her grandma, was also an accusation against her father. At this moment, strong pain burst out, and Taoran realized how kind and loving this girl was. Taoran is so angry. She understood Chen Yi's grievances and couldn't bear to suppress these emotions again, so she simply took this opportunity to vent them to Chen Yi in front of Chen Jian. So many people are torturing me. But everyone chooses to turn a blind eye. After I lost my mother, I lost my father. I live in purgatory every day. I have tried my best to find a place to hide, but I still have no place to hide. It's like this in the classroom, it's like this on the playground, and it's like this at home. You all say nice things, but no one reaches out to me to give me a hand, or even looks at me. In fact, you all know how painful I am, but you don't want to. As long as one of these people can lend a helping hand and give a little bit of care and help, even if it is greetings, trust, or standing up for once, then Chen Yi may not die. Perhaps because her sobbing was too heart-wrenching, her two friends at the same table were the first to cry, whispering, "I'm sorry." They are indeed selfish. Don't they know whether Chen Yi is good or bad? They are just afraid. Most of the classmates in the class knew that she was being bullied. At this moment, the classmates who were affected, felt pity, and started to reflect, could not help but sob softly. Especially the classmates who had been bullied by those bad guys were so angry that they began to stand behind the police and whispered that Wang Shu and the others did have a history of violence against their classmates. Xiaoi, what are you talking about? Chen Jian bit his lip but didn't feel the pain. He directly pushed away Ma Xiaozu, who came to explain, and rushed over in stupid strides. He was dizzy and his heart ached. There was too much information and he couldn't understand it. Xiaoi, Daddy is here. Look here, Daddy is here. Don't do anything stupid. When Chen Jian heard that the little ruffian was still spitting feces from his mouth, he knew that he was the gangster who was hunting his daughter according to the head teacher, so he punched him out without saying a word. He was so angry that he punched Wang Shu in the face with almost all his strength, and Wang Shu's mouth and nose were immediately covered with blood. Well played. How many people feel relieved when they see it? His behavior was exactly what Chen Yi said. The behavior of a real relative seeing his daughter being persecuted was really very different from that of Ma Xiaozu. Everyone saw this and couldn't help rolling their eyes at Ma Xiaozu. He, isn't this the difference between biological children and adopted children? Wang Shu jumped into a rage and almost knocked over the two policemen who were holding him. Wang Shu, who was detained, could only be beaten, but he was not allowed to jump around. I am. Suet. Is it you? Did you hurt my daughter like that? Chen Jian's face turned pale when he saw his daughter's school uniform full of blood. It just so happens that I'm also going to sue you for murder. Let's sue you together. I'm coughing so hard that my lungs are about to come out. I haven't added any more in the past few days. I'll add it tomorrow. Many thanks to the babies for their monthly tickets. The monthly tickets will be doubled for the 3 days at the end of this month. If you still have monthly tickets on hand, please save them and give them to me. I'll save some. I'll add more for you. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 150. Chen Jian took over his daughter's school uniform, his hands shaking. Why is there so much blood? What happened to my daughter after she was killed? The school uniform was frayed in many places, and the damaged areas were stained with blood. Looking at the tattered ruins in front of me, I imagined my daughter running away on those rubbles, falling and begging, but those scum wouldn't let her go, right? As a father, he was bursting with tears and furious at the same time, and kicked him out again. Although the two policemen who were guarding Wang Shu said they were trying to stop him, they actually made no big move, and Wang Shu was beaten several more times. Me murder, what the hell? Wang Shu sneered, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he was silenced by the police. The police dragged him to the other side. Now is not the time for you to speak. The victim is too emotional. If you stimulate him again, it will really be murder, the police warned. If your life is really going to happen, the minor law can't protect you. On the other side, under the instruction of the police, Chen Jian began to persuade his daughter. Xiaoi, there is a misunderstanding between us. Dad loves you and feels sorry for you. How come you don't have a dad? Chen Jian burst into tears. What's the trouble? Just tell daddy. I said that. Chen Yi burst into tears. Didn't I make it clear enough? But you don't believe me. You only believe in your current wife and have long forgotten that you promised my mother before she died that she would take good care of me. You would rather believe in the daughter brought by my stepmother. I don't believe in your biological daughter either. That's right. You have a new daughter and a biological son. A dragster like me is just a drag on your family. How can you listen to what I say? Xiaoi, that's not the case, you really misunderstood. There's no misunderstanding. Your mind has completely wandered away. You just deliberately didn't look or listen. While talking, the fire department and ambulance also arrived over there. A huge air mattress began to be laid, and the police wanted Chen Jian and psychological experts to distract Chen Yi as much as possible so that she would not focus on the police and firefighters. Xiaoi, tell Dad what happened. Do you know that your wife, that woman, abused me? You don't know. Because you are never at home. When you are not at home, they scold me and beat me. Do you know? They have been domestic violence against me. Do you know? Of course Taoran saw that the police needed time to make arrangements, and just in time, she also needed time to put on a good show. So as soon as she opened her mouth, she hit hard and successfully attracted all the police to look at Ma Xiaozu. Tisk, domestic violence is also a crime. Your good wife, your crimes could fill a book. They force me to work. I do all the work at home, and I won't let you sleep until I finish it. I don't even have time to do my homework, and my grades are so bad, can it be good? And they only have a show as mother and daughter when you come home, acting like a good wife and daughter. Do you know that your wife forces me to eat all the leftovers at home every day? They treat me like a trash can. They made me drink the remaining oil and water, not even a drop was left. Zhou Qingqing once told me clearly that the uglier and fatter I am, and the less I like you, the happier they will be. Well, that's a slight exaggeration. So what? It doesn't matter. Anyway, life is like a play, it all depends on acting skills. Ma Xiaozu, who has a technical secondary school diploma, can act so convincingly that so many people are convinced. She, Taoran, is a real movie queen after all, so she can't be inferior to an amateur, right? Anyway, there is no proof, it just depends on who is more convincing on the spot. Dad. There was a hint of drama in her voice, and it rose slightly as she trembled. Taoran revealed several old wounds on his arms. I know you don't believe it. But this is what your wife beat you when you were not around. Of course not true. This wound was slapped with a stick when Wang Shu and the others bullied her last week. After a few days, the pain was less severe, but the bruises remained. Chen Jian's hands were shaking while holding the binoculars. He couldn't see the injury clearly, but he saw the bruises, which made his heart hurt. Even his throat seemed to be pinched. Ma Xiaozu was so excited at the back that she wanted to come up to refute and explain several times, but the police kept her away on the grounds that no stimulation is allowed and told her to hold it in until she could only spit out a few mouthfuls of blood. She was so anxious. If this continued, and if Chen Yi continued to arrange nonsense like this, how many more hats would she be given? Wang Shu and others were also dumbfounded. At this moment, they fully realized Chen Yi's ability to talk nonsense. Those injuries earned Zhou Qingqing 300 yuan for them, and of course they have not forgotten it. Now that Chen Yi is talking so freely, will he bite them to death and murder him later? Lu Hua and Tan Chao behind him also looked at each other, feeling panicked. Zhou Qingqing has several thousand yuan of pocket money a month, but I only have 100 yuan. Only you believe that woman's lies about treating everyone equally. But you know, I go to see grandma every day, and I have to go back and forth by bus and subway. This 100 damn, even a car ride is not enough. In front of my grandma, I never dared to reveal that I had no money. In order not to worry her or let her know that I was being abused and had no money, I could only do odd jobs, but I was underage and no one dared to use me. Tao Ran smoked and cried. Every time you give me pocket money, it disappears for no apparent reason. Even if I hide it in my room, I won't find it for 3 days at most. Ma Xiaozu started jumping around again. What do you mean? You mean I stole your money? You are so young, why are you so vicious? Tao Ran ignored her. Make her mad. Just accuse her wrongly. Is it possible that she still has a way to disprove it? Does she have evidence to prove her innocence? Since there are none, let's see who everyone believes. I finally found a job distributing flyers, but those gangsters took away the 50 yuan I earned. I don't know why those gangsters knew that I earned 50 yuan. I never understood who told there. This time, Tao Ran looked at Zhou Qingqing. Wang Shu and others, don't talk nonsense, we didn't steal your money. Zhou Qingqing, don't accuse me wrongly. Tao Ran, I didn't mention you, so why are you so anxious? You're just asking for it, aren't you? Wang Shu. Zhou Qingqing. I went to sell the few gold items I got as birthday gifts, but they thought I was a minor and didn't dare to accept them. I want to help wash dishes in a restaurant, but people think I'm fat and think I'm inflexible. All I can do is pick up bottles in our community and sell them. My mother-in-law who collects rags sees me as pitiful and will give me a few more yuan every month. Thanks to her, I can occasionally buy my grandma some pastries she likes to eat. How can a dad like you help me? Have you really cared about me? As he spoke, Tao Ran turned his trouser pocket inside out. There were only a few steel caddies inside, which fell from the sky. Finally, they clattered to the concrete floor below, making a crisp sound. This sound hit Chen Jian's heart, and combined with the sounds of teachers gasping and classmates sobbing around him, it made his heart feel dull pain again.